Welcome back to Generic Expats. Have you ever thought about moving to El Salvador? How is it? Is it expensive? Is it safe? Is it a great place to live? Today we give you an interview with an American who moved to El Salvador, and we give you some interesting highlights of her experience so far and some extra services that she can provide if you're considering to move. Let's go. Welcome to San Salvador, and we are currently located in a beautiful little plaza roundabout with the statue of our good buddy, Mr. Beethoven. And then I have a fantastic guest here that is going to tell us a little bit about her life, the reasons why she is here, and we're gonna have a great time having a little chat with her. So let's start with the introduction and see who she is. Could you please tell the people here what your name is, where you're from, and how long you've been here for?
My name is Jenny Addy, and I have a YouTube channel called Perfect Chaos SV, and on TikTok and Instagram, I'm just Jenny Addy. And I have lived in El Salvador for almost 2 years, and I love it. I'm originally from Florida, but I have lived all over the United States.
Excellent, yeah, so you've been here for 2 years, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about your story and how you made it here. Could you give a brief introduction of how you made it here and what really drew you to come to live here?
Well, it was pandemic time, and I had a major life change, and I was kind of just reprogramming life. I was looking at the writing on the wall and looking at everything that was happening in my home country, and I kind of said, you know, I'd already world schooled with my kids before, and so I said, you know what, we need a break. We're going crazy inside this little house. We're gonna kill each other if we don't get out. So
you made a trip through Latin America, right?
Yeah.
Where did you go to first?
So we couldn't fly, so we drove.
Yeah.
So we drove down through Central America, and we drove through Mexico, and we ended up taking about a month in every single country and just exploring and learning and doing world schooling is what it's called. Yeah. And it was an amazing trip.
And you went with your daughters, you said? How many daughters?
I have 5 daughters, and my 5 daughters came with me. And
that's quite the trip, right? Big family trip going through Latin America. Definitely seems like it will be a very interesting story for everyone, and I've heard that's quite an interesting story to be told. Hopefully in another video you can share the entire details and really go into it hard. So before we continue on, I want to know what you thought about these countries you visited. It has recently come to my attention that I have not given the proper introduction to tell you why my videos and my information is so useful. You see, I've been traveling since 2013, nearly non-stop. Many of it has been within Asia and Latin America. I spent 5 years in Vietnam. And just 5 years ago, I started my full-time lifestyle as the digital nomad that I am today, where I spent at least 1 month in the following countries: Argentina, Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador. And in this time, I've been doing everything that I've been bringing to my channel here at Generic Expats. Now what this means is that I've been arranging my own accommodation and tasting the local cuisine, checking out the cost of living, looking for entertainment options, checking to see if these places are dangerous, learning how the weather is, and just the overall well-being of a foreign expat living in each one of these new cities. What was the best spot in each one? You said Mexico, Guatemala,
Honduras.
Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica, right?
Yep.
Let's just quickly say one place from each country that you enjoyed the most.
Okay, I think our favorite place in Mexico was probably Huatulco, or that's next to Puerto Escondido.
Yeah.
Yeah, we loved that little town. It was like super chill. There was a lot of Canadians there. It was just the people were super friendly. There wasn't a lot of crime. We loved that town.
Beaches are beautiful there too, yeah.
Oh, and the beach was pristine, and there's great snorkeling.
How about Guatemala?
Yeah, so let's see. Guatemala, well, we stayed in the city primarily, and so we were in a very safe part of the city because we had a home exchange, and so the amazing thing about Guatemala was just there was so much indigenous, there's lots of cultural things to learn about.
Yeah.
That was the best part of Guatemala, was where we were staying. There was lots of Mayan museums.
Where did you stay? Zone 10?
No, we were right next to the Plaza Americana.
Okay,
So,
I'm not sure where that is. Is that a specific zone or?
yeah, I can't think of what zone. I think it's zone 13 or 14.
Okay, awesome.
But it's a very, very safe part of Guatemala.
Okay, and your first time in El Salvador, what was your favorite part when you first came here?
When we first drove through, I think it was probably El Tunco, because we drove right along the coast, and we just happened to stop for lunch at a restaurant in El Tunco, and that day it just happened to be the Olympic trials for the Tokyo Olympics.
The surfing competition, right?
Yeah, the surfing competition for the Olympic trials just happened to be going on right in front of our restaurant. It was just beautifully serendipitous.
That's a spectacle, right? Our best surprise ever, right? How about Honduras?
Honduras was, our favorite place there was the island of Utila. So we drove all the way up, and then we took the ferry over to Utila, and it was just amazing to live on an island for 3 weeks and just go snorkeling. You just walk right off the beach, and there you are snorkeling among all these beautiful tropical fish.
I might be living in Roatan soon, possibly.
Really?
I'm crossing to Honduras tomorrow.
Ooh.
Okay, moving on. Nicaragua.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, definitely do the Roatan. Utila is a little bit cheaper though, FYI.
And Nicaragua. What was your favorite in Nicaragua?
Nicaragua was, oops.
Hello, ambulance. Well, we are next to a very main street, so if you hear cars, which I'm sure you do, and definitely the ambulance, which is coming around the corner now, hopefully they're helping people out in need and they are able to cross. I remember when I was in Mexico, seeing the ambulance get stuck in traffic, I was like, why aren't people moving? I lived in Vietnam as well. Vietnam was the worst. Like, ambulances could not go forward. And I was like, this is so weird, because in the US it's law. If you don't pull over, you get ticketed, and it's also it's kind of unethical to block an ambulance. But yeah, anyways.
Not
so
here.
Nicaragua?
So in Nica, the best place was San Juan del Sur. It's the most southern city in Nica, and it's wonderful because it has a whole lot of foreigners and expats. But the thing that I love the best about San Juan del Sur is that there wasn't any classism. Like, the foreigners and the Nicas, like, they were just walking, talking together. There wasn't any differentiation. The foreigners loved it. It was like, this is my Nicaragua. This is my country. This is my town.
That sounds like a good experience. I'm very excited for Nicaragua, actually. When I looked at all the excursions and places that I'm planning to visit, I'm like, whoa, volcanoes everywhere. It looks so nice. Okay, last one, Costa Rica.
Let's see. I like to call Costa Rica the California of Central America. And that means because California has amazing nature, amazing diversity. You can't beat Big Sur.
And your favorite place in Costa Rica was?
And similarly, in Costa Rica, I loved being right in between the biosphere of the cloud forest and the rainforest. It just has amazing naturaleza.
What was the place you went to? You mentioned a specific place before, right?
Well, we stayed
a park, something, right?
We stayed at three different parts of Costa Rica. So first, I can't think of the name right now. We were just in the middle, in between the rainforest and cloud forest first, and then we went over to Huaco Beach, and then we went up to Guanacaste.
Okay, all right. So which one of those was your favorite of the three?
definitely the first one in between the cloud forest and the rainforest.
Awesome. It's not difficult for me to hear and understand the places you went to, why you liked them, and why you liked El Tunco, because El Tunco I also went to. I had a great time. I actually saw the international surfing competition. So this is one amazing benefit of being in El Salvador. Some of the best surfing and some of the best waves for this type of sport in the entire world, really. So let's move on to a bit more about El Salvador, specifically living here in this country. You said you've been here 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Okay.
I have.
Okay, so let's talk about safety, because I think safety is the number one thing people think about when they are listening to someone talk about this country because of the difficult past. Have you ever felt unsafe being here in the past 2 years?
No. Honestly, no. There's no other way to say it.
You've stayed in many different places in the country, right?
Yeah. I stayed, when I first came through here, I stayed down at the beach. Then I stayed here in the Sansol, the city area. And then I ended up staying down by La Union, or down in the eastern corner of El Salvador. And no, I've always felt safe.
What is kind of the most developed part? Probably this metro area, right? And
Yeah.
And then La Union, I think it's a bit more rustic over there, right?
Yeah, La Union is definitely more untouched. That whole part of the country is much more untouched and more natural.
And do you live here in the city, or where do you live?
I live just outside the city because I'm not a concrete kind of noisy kind of girl. I'm a little hippie. I like green. I like to be surrounded by living things, and so I live just outside the city, on the edge of a little, not quite a mountain, but a big hill, and I have a little organic farm there with mango trees, and I love being able to live from the land that I live on.
Do you know how much the property that you're living at now costs?
Yeah, because my landlord has just upped the property. When we first moved in, he offered it for like 300,000. But I mean, it's a farm. It's fairly
To purchase the entire property and the
Yes.
house and stuff? Okay.
Yes, and there's apartment, there's a studio apartment, there's a side apartment, and then there's a large house on it. So it's,
There's 3 apartments
Yeah.
and a house and a yard?
yeah,
Okay, well,
and a good
that
acre plus.
seems like a lot of stuff for that price.
Yeah, so I mean, the price was a lot more reasonable when we first moved in, but recently he just said, "Oh no, the price is going to be like 400," and
Why do you think that? Why do you think that is? Because of the improvements in the country with
Yeah.
safety and tourism and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The price since 2 years ago when I came here, the prices of land and definitely of housing have skyrocketed. But I mean, hello, if you make a country safe, then people are going to want to be there. And if you build the country on true principles, people are going to want to be there.
So you hear that? If you want to come, this is the time now, because it's only going to continue going up
Yeah.
from here, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't buy something 2 years ago, but
Yeah, woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? If you're getting value from my dedication to the research, traveling, recording, and editing needed to create the content I produce, please show me your appreciation by hitting that subscribe and like button below the video, as it really makes a difference to me, and it motivates me to finish my massive multi-year video series, Motorcycling Alone Through Latin America, showing you great undiscovered spots for your future expat lifestyle. It is more than likely that you are a male in your 50s from the United States and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet. Well, let me show you how to do that now. So let's talk about what you're doing here, because you're involved in a lot of different projects, right? You said you have a YouTube channel. What is the name of your YouTube channel again?
okay, my YouTube channel is called Perfect Chaos SV, and it shows what gringo life, what expat life is like in El Salvador, and kind of how to navigate the Salvadoran culture. It explains a lot about El Salvadoran culture, like the mercados, how to not come in here with your own ideals and try and live a different life, but how to kind of live like the locals live and embrace where you are.
Awesome. And besides this channel, which your channel is actually quite similar to mine, but it's a deep dive into this specific place where I kind of show a little bit of each country just to give people a kind of a surface idea. And you're involved in some other projects, right? Could you talk about those?
Well, yeah. So once I got here, I started doing a series on inspirational people that I found in El Salvador. And I met the most amazing, most inspirational guy in the world, a man who came down here during the war and started an orphanage because he saw so many abandoned children and orphaned children in the streets. And as I met him, he told me about the biggest problem that's happening now, of that there's children that are girls that are abused or that are raped. If they become pregnant, there isn't anywhere for them to go. And it's very typical that they don't get the care that they need in their first trimester, and they don't know how to take care of their babies because they're 10, 12, 14.
That's terrible.
And so at his orphanage, after he got a big influx of babies that came from these moms that had severe problems, he just decided, I have to do something. I can't just let this keep happening. And so now he and I are working together to start a shelter called House of Life. And it's a shelter for these girls that are either already in the system because they've been taken out of abusive homes, and the girls can come there and they have tutors that actually keep them in school because typically they drop out of school. And we give them all the food that they need so both bodies can grow like they should. We teach them personal defense, teach them how to take care of their baby, how to bond with their baby. And we give them some job prospects and skills about how to take care of themselves too, so they don't. And most of all, it's the psychologists that work with the girls to break the cycle of poverty, because this cycle's been going on since the conquistadors.
That's a very noble cause, and it's very nice to hear your story, and I'm sure people watching this are going to be very happy to know that you're doing a very positive thing. When people think about expats, sometimes they get like a negative, like, oh, all of the people going to Mexico and just raising properties, and the rates, all the prices of everything are skyrocketing and locals are suffering. I mean, this is a great example of helping and giving back. So that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Is there something that your organization is in need of at the moment that you're trying to get done?
Well, yeah, actually right now, if you go to www.micasakids.org, we have like 15% away from our funding goal to open up and accept 15 girls into the shelter. And we're so very close. And in fact, we have a gala, if you're Salvadoran or around El Salvador, in October 17th, we have a gala in Cadejo Montaña where we're going to have a big auction, and we're going to have dancing and a great cover band and wonderful and beer and food. And it's going to be wonderful because it's an opportunity for Salvadorans to start taking care of Salvadorans, which is a big shift that needs to happen culturally.
That's fantastic. That's at the end of October?
It's October 17th.
And this is Cadejo's a brewery, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cadejo is their regional breweries around, but they're also restaurants.
Local brews. Oh, it's a restaurant too. The local brews here are pretty good too. I've tried a few good IPAs and APAs and all that stuff. They're nice. This country has something that many people probably don't even recognize, which is a new legal tender based off of a cryptocurrency, right? It is a Bitcoin country. So that probably changes the landscape of who you meet here, right? 'Cause from what I've seen so far being here, I've been here almost 2 months, I've met quite a few people that are either living here or come here often because of the currency being utilized as a legal tender, the cryptocurrency. So my question is it difficult for you to meet people here, or is it easy to meet people? Are you into Bitcoin? That kind of topic. Let's start with that.
Okay, there's 3 main groups of people that immigrate to El Salvador. One is the cryptocurrency Bitcoin enthusiasts. They come because they can use their currency here. And they also see that El Salvador is embracing kind of a lot of libertarian principles and self-sovereignty principles. So there are many of those, and they have lots of meetups, and there's a big social network of Bitcoiners. It's really easy to to hook up with the Bitcoiners.
I went to a Bitcoin meetup actually a couple days ago. People were super friendly. I really wanted to talk to a lot more of them and really get to know them, but I had limited time, so I just kind of said hi and recorded a bit of the meetup. So that's one type of person.
Yeah.
Have you met a lot of these type of people?
Oh yeah.
And are they your close friends now?
Well, I'm married to a Salvadoran now, so I have a mix. I have a good mix. I have some close Bitcoiner friends, but I'm not a purist in any aspect. I'm not a...
Gotcha. What's the second type then?
Okay. The second type of people, actually, I would say are the more conservative Christians that are moving here from everywhere from UK, Canada, a lot of Canadians, America, Europe, people that are just, they see the world order, they see globalist, and they see a lot of freedoms like dying in their own country, and their government's taking too much power, and they're just concerned, and they kind of call themselves the self-selected refugees, because their idea is kind of, I'm getting out of Dodge before Dodge blows up.
You know, that's interesting for me because this is probably the most religious country in terms of Christianity I've ever been in. Like, hearing like Christian music everywhere, the buses, the supermarkets, and I've heard it in other countries, like most of Latin America is religious, but I mean, the name of this country is the Savior, our Lord the Savior. So, and this city is our Saint Savior. So, I mean, everything revolves around religion. That doesn't really surprise me, but do you have a lot of close friends in this second group?
Yeah, I probably about as many as I have of Bitcoiners, but yeah, there is, and that's true. I mean, this city of all the Latin American countries, and Latin America is of course very Catholic, but of all the Latin American countries, even though it's the smallest, it's the one that's named after the Savior Jesus Christ, and it is, and the people have suffered for so long that they really do, they have a very deep faith, and they really do. They live a lot more of practicing what they preach. And so in a lot of other countries, they're really boo-booing on religion, and they're like, oh, religious people are just stupid, and they're all being fooled. And
do you think that's why they move here, is because they see that this place is so religious and they can live with those type of qualities without any problems?
Well, partly, yeah, because they were actually kind of getting persecuted and trashed on in their other countries.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, dude, I can live my religion, I can do and bless and give here, and nobody's going to call me stupid, nobody's going to call me a phobe, a phobe or something, nobody's going to sit there and bully my kids. And
sorry, one example of how I think Salvadorians are incredibly friendly. This group of people, they wouldn't cross. They didn't want to cross because we're recording. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is your country. This is a park. Just keep walking. And this is something I really enjoy about the local people here. Let's talk about the third group.
Okay, so and then the last group are the diaspora, and diaspora stands for like the foreigners that have moved out of a country that live outside of their home country. So there's a good 3 million plus Salvadorans that actually live outside of El Salvador because of the war and because of the gangs and just fleeing a country that was just pure violence and danger. And so now they never wanted to leave, but they had to
They were
survive.
basically refugees, basically, right?
Yeah, they truly were refugees. And so they did it to survive, and they've sent money back for years to their families here. And so now that it's safe, I mean, their big dream is to come back. And so that's the biggest thing is we've seen, because, well, my husband has an immigration relocation company, and so of all of his clients, those are kind of the three main groups, is the Salvadorans that are coming back from the US, from Canada, from other places, that want to come and build El Salvador to be the most amazing country it can be.
So let's talk a bit more about your husband's business, because he has a relocation business, right? For people thinking about moving here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Could you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. It's called Living Like a Local, and a lot of my YouTube channel kind of like a funnel, because I'm an awesome wife, for his business. And that's just it, is that the big thing about El Salvador is that it is developing. It's not first world by any stretch of the imagination, But the thing about El Salvador is there's so much hope. It's a pioneering spirit. If you're interested in coming to El Salvador, you need to know we're not there yet. You need to have a little bit of that pioneer spirit of you want to create something better. You want to, you're not that picky, you're not that entitled. It's more about direction than it is location. You don't care that this is third world, second world. You care that the direction is upward, not necessarily that you get everything that you want and you have your prime on automatic dials.
So what does your husband's company specialize in?
Typically, he focuses more in retirees and more in retirees and more of the Christian families that are coming back here, because the Bitcoiners, they're a little cliquey. They kind of like to, there's a few diehards that are like, Bitcoin will solve all the world's problems. And yeah, we refer those to the Bitcoin immigration companies. Plus, the other big thing is in El Salvador, you get what you pay for. So be careful if you're checking out some things. It's not necessarily a good thing to go with the cheapest around here, because the cheapest usually means it's going to break and it's not worth anything. And it's not necessarily good to go with the most expensive, because they're probably corrupt and they're going to rob you. So it's best to look for somebody in the middle.
The middle ground, yeah.
And integrity. Integrity is the biggest thing. If you can find, because of the history of corruption, it's most important to find somebody who is honest.
Well, I'm going to put that link in my description and possibly around here on the top of the video, so you can click on that if you're interested in that. And speaking of prices, speaking of shopping around, let's talk about cost of living a little bit, because this is a huge part of deciding where you want to live and why, right? So this is definitely much cheaper than our country, the USA, and Canada, and many developed countries. Could you give maybe a weekly budget of a typical expat that lives here?
Our home is actually really big for El Salvador. It's a normal size. It's a normal to medium size, I'd say, gringo U.S. home. It's about, let's see, if I had to guess, I'd say it's close to like 2,200 square feet. So it's pretty big, and it has big cabled roofs and stuff, but it's like a Spanish villa out in the country. So when we paid $1,100, and then there was $100 in utility on top of that. But we're outside of the city. Inside the city, honestly, in San Salvador, in the nice ends of San Salvador, like San Benito and Escalon, you'll pretty much pay the same you pay in the U.S. $2,000 plus a month for an apartment.
But that's probably a furnished apartment, right? Including all the fees and like internet and water and electricity and whatever. But is that through Airbnb, are you saying, or how would someone find this type of accommodation you're talking about?
Honestly, down here, the most common, there's two websites that people use. One is called Encuentra 24 or Encuentra 24.
Right.
And then the other one is just Facebook. And if you want to live in the city, you'll find the homes are a lot smaller. You can still get a 3-bedroom, but your home is probably going to be a lot smaller, and it can be a lot cheaper. You just need to know what's really important to you.
So the top most expensive neighborhoods you said are probably Escalon and what else?
San Benito.
San Benito is?
I'd say San Benito is the most expensive, and there's some parts of Santa Elena that are pretty expensive, but there's a lot of foreigners and gringos that live around Santa Elena, because it's a Costco. It's called Price Mart, but it's pretty much Costco. And us gringos, we like our Costco.
That's right. So, I'll live near the Costco. Wait, yeah. Is there a Costco? Just put me there. Put me right next to it. Yeah. Let's do like a typical monthly or weekly budget that you and your husband would normally pay, if you could tell us that.
Okay, so on my channel, I do a whole shopping trip, and it depends on where you shop, just like anywhere else. Yeah. Because I'm all about integrating into a society and kind of not staying separate. We pay, as I said, like $1,100 for rent for our 2,200 square foot Spanish villa that we have on our farm with all of our awesome fruit trees and everything else. And then we pay about, the gas prices are about $4.60 right now.
They're really high now.
Yeah, so
I just filled up and I was like, oh.
Yeah, we pay about $50, I'd say a week for gas, but that's because we live out of town, and so we have to commute in every day because my husband has to go to the university every day, and so.
Does he teach there?
Yeah, he does.
Awesome.
And so, and the thing is, a lot of that gas is sitting in traffic, unfortunately, because he can get there in like 20
Speaking of that, let's give you a little idea of what the traffic is like here. We're getting close to the hora pico, which is rush hour. And yeah, you can hear the honking, and there's definitely a lot of people waiting to go to their destination, aren't they?
Okay, so we don't have a car payment, so that's nice. One other thing is cars are more expensive here than in the States. One thing good to know. Our car is already paid up for. But in about grocery-wise, I try and eat pretty healthy. That's one of my main reasons that I live down here is I'm a lot skinnier, I'm a lot healthier in El Salvador than I am in the States. And so our budget for food per week, let's see. I say $100 a week, but that's because I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables.
Do you eat every meal at home?
Most of them, yeah, because I'm not big on fried foods. And
there's 2 people at your house?
Yeah.
So $400 per month between 2 people?
Yeah, about $400 a month for the 2 of us. But fruits and vegetables are a lot less expensive here than there. And so it's a lot easier and cheaper to eat healthy here, and we don't eat out a lot. So.
And then for entertainment side, you probably drive around and go to some places. And what do you do for the entertainment expenses? What would be an example of that?
Well, honestly, as you'll see in my channel, we don't really, nowadays with Netflix and stuff, we don't really watch a whole lot of TV. We're usually either making videos, don't really consume a whole lot, but entertainment-wise, it's actually usually going and visiting natural parks or hiking a volcano or.
Do you usually go to places that are free, or how much do those cost you? Obviously, you're paying for gas and maybe an entrance fee. So what would be an example of that?
Okay, well, like in my channel, I have a whole lot of tourist videos, but almost every park around here, it's like $1, maybe $3 to get in. And even the National Theater, I love to go to the theater, and they have ballets and they have orchestras, and even that is like maybe $3 to get into the symphony. Wow. And so, so our kind of entertainment is really cheap. Whereas, you can still go to the Cinemark, you still go to the movies and you're still going to pay I think about $8.
The cinema costs $8? Wow, that's pretty high.
I think so.
Other Latin American countries are like 2 or 3, I think, a lot of them.
I don't go.
Okay, so that maybe not the correct numbers, right? So you're saying probably the majority of what you're spending actually on these like excursions and entertainment things is just the gas going there, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much the gas going there, and then I love street vendors, so I love to try local little cafes and little hole in the walls. So it's the gas to go there, and then it's maybe $5 to get in, and then it's maybe $10 to eat. If you eat at a local restaurant, you're not going to spend more than $10. If you eat at a fast food place or a chain, or if you eat at some foreign place that's here, yeah, you're going to pay a lot more. Not as much as the States, but a lot more. You pay $5 for, I get a Big Mac meal, you get a Big Mac meal, and then we get ice cream cones. It's going to end up being about $15. Like maybe 1990s US prices, but I prefer to go, I like to go to the mom and pop places or just drive through pupusas.
So that is one little keyword that you should know about in terms of cost of living. If you want to bring down the cost, you eat the local food, and specifically pupusas. They are insanely cheap. Do you eat pupusas often?
Oh, heck yeah. At least, well, I like to make my own, so.
Oh, you make your own?
No, I eat pupusas at least 3-4 days a week.
So pupusas are a little can you describe pupusas for us? It's usually around $1 each, right?
No, I get mine 3 for $1.
Oh, okay. Well, it's way cheaper over there. Where I've been finding them, and where I went to the beach near Bitcoin Beach, it was like 60, 80 cents, $1, $1.25, but it's more touristy place. So can you describe a little bit about this pupusa before we finish up?
Sure. Yeah, you've been sitting in the expensive zones, dude. No, it's. I mean, some of the pupusas are getting a little bit more, like 40, maybe at most 50 cents per pupusa. But okay, so a pupusa is kind of like, it's like an enclosed pita, in that they make them. If you're a gluten-free person or a milk-free person, you would love El Salvador, because they start with making they use either rice flour or they use corn flour, and then they put beans, cheese, different greens. Like I really love the greens. They have mora, they have different greens that they'll put in with the cheese, and then they close it up, and so it ends up being, like I said, like a pita pocket that's all enclosed, but it's stuffed with cheese or squash or stuff inside, and then they cook it, and then they make this stuff called curtido, which is pretty much like Salvadoran slaw. But it's curtido is just, it's cabbage that's in vinegar and kind of been pickled a little bit, and then they put the curtido on top, and then they put tomato salsa de tomate, a tomato sauce that they make from real tomatoes on top of that, and then you eat it. And I like to make my own curtido because it's fermented cabbage and it's got lots of probiotics and stuff like that, and so it's just. And that's like a daily meal. Whereas in the U.S., I had to take tons of supplements and stuff because all the food didn't have any nutrients in it because they'd all been taken out. So I had to like make the fermented vegetables, and I had to like sit there and force it down because I didn't have anything to put it on. But here I have pupusas, and I put my fermented cabbage on my pupusas, and it's awesome.
So if you come here, you definitely need to try this local delicacy. Pupusas are quite good. Is there one last thing that you would like to do to tell someone some good advice if they're thinking about coming down to El Salvador?
Number one, before you go to any foreign country, drop your judgment. Come in with an open mind. Come in with, you know what, you're the visitor. So that means you open up to the way they do things, and you'll find out more about yourself. And you'll start to challenge some of your own belief sets. And like in my channel, my tagline is travel more, live more, be more. Because as you live more of life, you become a better person and be more of the person you truly are.
Okay, that's some pretty sound advice. Any other last minute tidbits you want to fit in here?
Just that El Salvador is wonderful, and the more you see of the world, just the better person that you can become. And if you want to come visit, check out my channel. And if you're thinking about moving here, check out livinglikealocal.com. My husband can hook you up.
You got a personal contact right here if you're thinking of coming down. And I really want to thank you so much for giving us all this excellent information and sharing your story and talking about these projects you're doing. This really brings a nice positive light to the expat community and the expat name. I really enjoy that. All right. Welcome to San Salvador. Like, subscribe, and comment if you like these videos.